Mayo Football Podcast. I'm Rob Murphy. It is another week of Christmas shopping and another chance for us to give you a break from Christmas shopping. I'm Rob Murphy. This is John Gunnigan. How are you, John?
I'm good, Rob. I've done my bit of Christmas shopping today. How about that?
Well done. I mean,
I got into town on the bike. Got a little bit wet, but not too bad. Got the items I came into town for. Back home again, about an hour and a half. So I think that's a result.
I'm trying to think of good Christmas gifts. One would be just to gift the Mayo Football Podcast annual subscription to someone, one of your beloved friends who's a huge Mayo fan. I'm just suggesting. Another one would be some of the great books that are out there, John, because we do like promoting books, don't we?
We do indeed, and I'm one of the least imaginative gift givers at Christmas. So books are always top of my list anyway. Not that they shouldn't be, of course, because there are so many good books around the place, and there's one in particular that we want to talk about today.
Yeah, that's going to be our major part of the pod. And before I mentioned also we have another special interview coming up at the end of this podcast. Seán Regan speaking with Mike Finnerty ahead of the Mayo Club Stars. Seán's getting a special award after another phenomenal season as a dual player in this county with Toreen and Ballina, successful across the board at senior level, and a really good piece of audio as well coming your way. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, before we introduce our guest, one more point to say about the Club Stars. It's sold out, John.
It is indeed, yeah, full house. We were ticking towards that over the last few days, but the official big red stamp went on the announcement last night. So yeah, that's great. So we all know what a full to the gills Knock Granny looks like on Club Stars night. So we're going to have another one of those nights on Friday night when we bring back the Club Stars. Yeah, really looking forward to it now.
The desk in front of me has somewhere one of these buttons does applause, but I can't find it because I'm just not really technically minded. So I'll just go, thank you everyone for that.
Yeah, thumbs up emojis,
Thumbs up emojis. I'll learn how to use the desk one of these days. Not now though. I have better things to be doing. Edwin McGreal, how are you?
I'm great, Rob.
You're on for a special reason, not just the usual reason of Edwin, will you come on the pod with us?
Are you going to be there on Friday night, Ed? Yeah.
I'm hoping to be there, John. I'm hoping to be there as things stand, but at this point in time, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow night. So Friday night seems like it's so far beyond the horizon. But I'm doing my best to be there and make it happen. But it's great to see it selling out, because I know it's something that in the years it was in hibernation. I got a lot of queries from people wondering, was it going to be coming back? And there's a lot of love for it, because we've had over the years some phenomenal nights in the Club Stars, starting off in Brafey House and the TF, and then Knock Granny has been home to it for the most part. And it's always a brilliant night. So great to see it sold out, because that means that everyone that's going will get to appreciate just how good a night it is, because I'm sure there'll be lots of people that'll be there for the first time. And just as I speak here, I'm parked in a car park in Castlebar. I see a legend of Mayo Club football, Joe Kane, running. That's the former Crossmolina footballer and current Sligo selector, actually going for a jog, which it's the 9th of December, but they're made differently up in Crossmolina way. It's just because it's cold and it's wintry doesn't mean that you don't get out and stay fit. So that might explain why Crossmolina were All-Ireland champions in part in 2001. But yeah, interesting sight there as I'm sitting here in the car park. I can promise I won't be going for a run today in Castlebar, but Shinsuke Lela.
Just following the Mike Finnerty analogy of, look, there's always news out there. You just got to open your eyes. Edwin, picking up a little story for us on a Monday morning. Right, Edwin, you're on because it's your book we're talking about. I mean, a phenomenal achievement. You've been traveling the county, talking to people, live events. We had a live event with you in South Mayo actually as well. The feedback has been great. The book looks absolutely beautiful. I hope it's selling well for you, and we're here to kind of make sure people have it in their Christmas stockings. They need a big Christmas stocking because it's a big book.
Yeah, you'd want to reinforce the Christmas stocking for it, that's for sure.
you
But
would.
it's definitely, that's what I think it has potential for people if they like Mayo GAA, that it's a good gift for yourself or for someone else. So I know you said at the top we were giving people a break from Christmas shopping, but we're kind of not really, Rob. We're trying to recommend a Christmas
I
a Christmas present for people, you know. Yeah, look at the feedback so far has been brilliant. I've got one criticism about the book so far, and it was
Yes.
a constructive criticism, and it was more so aimed at what one of the interviewees said, not what I said or wrote. And that was when I was up in Glenamoy. I won't say any more than that, but I suppose the feedback has been overwhelming. To be fair, you know, and it's great. It's very rewarding to see people getting enjoying it, and you know, finding you know, reading about their own stories, reading about other people's and other clubs' stories, and getting a sense for clubs throughout the county, because that was the hope doing it, was that you were going to give people an insight into every club in the county, and if I've achieved that, I'd be very happy.
It's called Our Finest Hour. It takes you on a journey through the entire county's clubs across the board, looking at their finest hour. And it was very subjective, as Edwin has said, at the live events. It was long conversations with people in the background to find out, well, what story should we settle on? Who are the people we can bring together? And so from that perspective, John, I think as you flip through the pages, you're just taken on a time machine from years ago to years and years ago, and some incredible stories. And you start to contrast the different eras, and you see all the similarities as well. Even as football has changed, the same kind of camaraderie and friendships are coming out of it.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful book, because I think you're automatically drawn towards your own club's finest hour, I think, as the entry point into it. Well, certainly I was, you know, and for us it was the Armor Shamrocks sole senior title in 1977, which sadly I'm old enough to remember firsthand, you know. You know, I remember being at those games, and certainly the deluge of goals in the replay that won it, and seeing those photographs and bringing the memories back was great, and the anecdotes and all that, and that was just wonderful. Ed kindly gave me an abridged version of that, which I put up on the blog yesterday, so that's there for people to read as a taster. But once you've consumed your own club's finest hour, I think you're immediately drawn into all the other stories, and that can take you as that. You know, then it's a case of how long have you got, you know, because you know you'll find you'll be just flicking through, and you'll find an hour or 2 hours have gone by. And that's what really is great about this book, you know. And it's not it's the stories, but also I think with books of this kind, I think sporting books of this kind, of particularly local histories, if you like, you know, are the photographs,
Yeah.
and I think that's a huge plus for it. And there's some wonderful ones, and I've referenced before the one of Vinnie Neary with his full 1980s afro, you know, as a particular highlight for me. But there's loads of them. There's just so many wonderful photographs. So yeah, I just think it's a great book, and congrats, Ed. I think it's a monumental piece of work in terms of all the interviews you did, and gathering together all that information. That's a serious amount of work, and the production values are so good as well. Like, it's really, as you said, Rob, it's a beautiful book as well, you know.
I couldn't agree more. I love the way you say about the photographs. Like, I'm looking at the today. I just flicked it open on the Kilmaine page, and I just want to go back in time into 1977 and tell them, lads, will you all get the right pair of socks? Will you? I mean, jeepers! I think two of them were wearing Hollymount socks for that county final. I don't know what was going on back in the day. The color pictures is so beautiful.
But Rob, that doesn't beat Tim Snee and his pink shorts for Armor, and that wasn't any kind of statement. That was just the color ran in the wash. You know, it was washing values in 1977 were quite different as well. Yeah.
Edwin, like, when you started this, people thought you were mad. When you finished it, people still thought you were mad. So, are you mad?
I think that's probably. I let other people decide, but possibly. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, one of the questions I've been asked a lot is the time frame, and it was 6 months, just under 6 months, and it was tight.
Yes.
It was tight, but I suppose it just goes to show a lot of the time, and I mean this, it didn't feel like work. It was,
Right.
you obviously had to, you had to work diligently, you had to be organized, you had to be disciplined. But it was so enjoyable, and that made it so much easier. So when you were doing the early mornings or the late nights, it was a lot more manageable. Particularly when I always wanted to do a book and see what that experience was like, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it even more than I thought I would, in terms of writing the book and researching the book and speaking to so many people. And again, that was just one of the great parts of it for me, was just how welcoming and people were, and how obliging people were with their time and with their assistance, from beginning to end. It was very humbling, that side of things. But I suppose the reason I would have went to do the book is I felt there were great stories out there, and I found a lot of stories that I hadn't heard before, and I hope I've done them justice in the book. But it's not just about the game and what happens between the two white lines. The white lines, not the two white lines. It's a social history of those areas. It kind of tells you, hopefully, I'm hoping people will get a sense for each region, for each decade, era of football, and just what was going on in people's lives, and a lot of human interest stories. Because look, I think the stories there that people that aren't into GA would hopefully enjoy and appreciate as well, because it's not strictly about football or hurling. It's about people, and I think people are always a good focal point for any book.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good point, because that's what struck me as well. In that, like, a book like this obviously sits alongside club books, or builds on top of them, if you like. And we obviously have two that I'm aware of this year. There may be more. There's the Davits one and the Eastern Gales one. They were out in
And
the
Moy
last number
Davits
of
as
months.
well brought one out at the weekend.
Yeah, that's right, of course, yeah. And I was at the launch of the Ahmore one there a few years ago. It was pre-COVID, and that's just a fantastic piece of work as well. And they are social histories. And again, that means that a book like yours then is a near neighbour of the parish, the annual parish magazines that come out as well. And again, Ahmore have a fabulous one there. Joe Byrne has been producing that one for over 30 years. And it's wonderful. And I've said to him more than once that what he's doing in publishing the personal recollections, in many cases, of people, of older people, if you like, is collecting and collating and publishing the social histories of local areas. And it's almost like the oral histories, if you like. And I just think that stuff is so valuable, and we might not even see the value of it now. But 20, 30, 40, 50 years hence, come a time when we're all gone, books like this will still be consulted and read, and they'll be appreciated because it gives people a window into the past.
And it's very true, John, and it's something I'd be very kind of conscious of, even within my own club in Brafey, the amount of older people who have so much insights and so many great memories, that it's so important that is recorded. And like in this book, I always knew in this book that I would interview someone that, I'd interview a number of people that would, Father Time would catch up on in the, not too distant future. I didn't think it would happen as quickly, and certainly not with the individual in question, in John O'Mahony. Like, I was in John's front room with John, with his brother, Father Dan, with Christy McCann, and with Jim Fleming, 4 legends in Ballardreen. And look, at John is a legend far beyond Ballardreen as well. That was back in March, and John couldn't have been any more helpful in terms of arranging. He arranged the lads to be there. He made his home available. He contacted me the day afterwards to make sure I had everything I needed. And little did any of us, including himself, realistically, know at that stage how little time he had left. And that was, like I say, late March, and he died on the 7th of July. And it was eerie to be back in that room then at the removal then a couple of days after that. And it was an honour to speak to John and to get that story recorded. And a little part of me thought, gosh, like, if I had left that a bit longer, I wouldn't have had John's memories from that 1972. And John, thankfully has his own book and has, has passed on so much knowledge and so much information and so many great stories throughout his life. But there's a lot of people, I suppose, in clubs who haven't done that, and that oral history will pass. Like, I remember a man died in Newport last year, or a couple of years ago, Dan Hoban, and the comment made to me was that a library is gone with that man. Like, he could have filled a library with all his information and knowledge and stories. And Dan was a very passionate Republican, and he had a lot of stories to tell. But there are so many stories in people, and it's never been easier to record stories, but I think it remains as important as ever to do so. And look, at the stories in this book are stories I think people will find hopefully insightful, they'll hopefully entertaining. They're not by any means complete, and I don't even I'm not even seeking that to be the case. It's a snapshot into each club. And hopefully people will get a good sense for the club and a good sense for that era that is mentioned in the club, But, the clubs themselves, a lot of clubs have done great work in doing complete club histories. You couldn't do that for all 54 clubs. I didn't try to do that. I didn't even pretend to be doing anything like that. But it is important to record moments. Like I met with Johnny Beastie and Jarlath Fahy, who were the last two surviving members of the 1958 Ballyhaunis team to win their last senior football championship. And the two lads have such fresh memories and strong memories of that day. And it was a pleasure to sit and talk with them. And it's great to record that moment, So, it's very important to tell these stories. And I'd encourage clubs, if they can at all. And there's so much pressure on clubs nowadays, but if they can set up a subcommittee within a group, within the club, to get these interviews together, and they mightn't necessarily use them straight away. But I know from experience, like, there's a massive sense of regret when someone passes away and you're like, never got the chance to interview that person and I missed that opportunity. I always think of it myself with Father J.J. Cribben, who I've mentioned in the book and is mentioned in the book a lot. He was my next door neighbour, my first football coach in Brafey, and I was always saying I must do a sit-down interview with that man. JJ is a legend in our family and he's a legend in Brafey, and I never got the opportunity, and it's a massive regret that I didn't. So I think, I've always been kind of conscious of that. So I think, there's great histories within clubs, and I think if clubs can at all record them, I think they'll be doing a massive social good to their own history, really, and their own sense of place.
Well, I think, in fairness to you, Ed, you've more than made up for that lapse on your part in terms of not interviewed somebody. So I think that one is well wiped out now with this book.
There isn't.
Thanks,
it's
John.
not that there's nothing missing. Or sorry, you say it's not like a definitive club by club story, but I think collectively what's happened, Edwin, possibly by accident, but I'd say ultimately by a natural enough design, is you have covered the absolute range of stories that are going to come out of GAA clubs across Ireland, because in so many stories, like the Swinford angle jumped out at me because it's such an emotional chapter. It's a powerful conversation about how a club can help people through difficult times. We know what the club stars will be celebrating Charlestown for a club rallying around difficult times. And I want to finish with a chat about something that's kind of more upbeat in that regard. But I think it's so important to say that when you're reading this book and you come to that Swinford chapter, it is a beautiful piece of work and well done on it. But I think for someone from outside the club to have that chance to just hear that from it, what they've gone through, it was really, really good. And I think they spoke in such an uplifting way about something so hard.
Yeah, and look, again, you're at the mercy of your interviewees for in situations like that. And Billy McNicholas, Vin Rockney, and Paul McDonough just spoke with such love, I suppose, about the people they were talking about, the tragedies that have visited that club are far beyond what any club or any community or any family should have to endure, particularly the McCallions, and you're just trying to relay that sense of what you would have got from that interview in the book, and that can be a bit daunting at times, but it is a theme in the book is, the sense of absent friends, and there are East Mayo has been particularly hard hit. Like, you know, you have Swinford, you have Charlestown, as you've mentioned, you have Ballydreen this year with John, you have Ballyhonus hurling with Pierce Higgins, you know. So there's, I suppose, there has been too much tragedy, and there's obviously no desirable level of tragedy other than none. But certainly there has been far too much in that corner of the county, you know. So I suppose you're trying to relay that. But I suppose, look at what you said earlier as well, in terms of recognizing people. And I think that's something I would hope people would get from it, is that they will recognize maybe a version of themselves or a version of people in their own club and a version of their club in other clubs, and might think, we're not that dissimilar, actually, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think, look at, and this is something that would have come out from the live events as well, is GA people are GA people, and you know, we're obviously competitive and we're trying to get one up on each other, but we all have an intuitive understanding of the GA and what the GA means to our communities. And there is that fraternity there throughout the GA. You know, if you meet someone and you're on holiday in Spain or Greece or whatever, and they're wearing a GA top and you get talking about it, it won't be long till you find common ground. And you know, like they might be from an urban club and you might be from a rural club, but you'll be able to relate to each other and you'll be able to have conversations and you'll talk about footballers, you know, and you won't find the time going. And that's one of the great things about the GA is it's a wonderful collective. And that came home to me really so much in this book, is how much it really does mean in every community throughout the county. And not alone that, but like, we hear it so often about the volunteers in the GA, and I would have appreciated this working in the Mayo News, and also but involved at club level as a player and an administrator and a manager with Brafey and with Ackle. But in this book, it really reaffirmed to me the amount of great work so many good people do in our clubs, to make them what they are. And that's why I dedicated. I did a 2-part dedication. One was to Aisling and the kids, and the second part was to all the selfless GA volunteers in Mayo who give so much of themselves to create something special for others. And that's something that really came home to roost for me in this on this journey, was just the level of selfless sacrifice for people. Sacrifice is a strong word, because people enjoy doing it, but the level of commitment that people give to their own area, and so others, particularly the younger generation, can get something so rewarding out of it. I think it's something that is so important, and now more than ever.
I just want to finish on this, lads, and both of you on it, because it just comes after. It's a broader theme, but you said it about enjoyment. So it's the sacrifice, and it's the challenges, and it's the climbing up mountains trying to win titles. But it's also, I think, it's lost of late, and you can take this from following the intercounty team down the way. I'm not suggesting that we don't get exercised and worked up by things that seem wrong, but I think at times you listen to people talk about football and you think that maybe they're forgetting that ultimately it's an escape from life, and it's fun. And if you don't win a title and you can't find the right manager and ex-players left to Australia, it's not the end of the world. I don't know what you reckon, John, but you want to take that first?
Oh no, yeah, I mean it's so true, but also I think, and just a bit on what Ed has said, is that like the GAA never has been, and I would hope never will be, just a sporting organisation. You know, it is a hugely important organisation of social cohesion within this country. And I think, but it's a good part of understanding how Ireland rocks the way it does is to understand the GA. And I think it's, as you say, Ed, like, even though there's, we will, we'll fight our nearest neighbor on things, but at the same time, it gives us a common platform on which we agree. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the country operates the way it does, and that there's a level of decency within the country that certainly people who come from abroad very, very quickly realize about Irish people. And I don't think it's wrong to highlight that. Now, that's not to say that the country doesn't have a huge amount of problems and that we're all aware of, and we've just come out of a general election campaign where they've all been ventilated very, very sharply. But I do think that the GAA can take a lot of the credit for the country that we live in. And I think that's an important element to it. Now, obviously, sport is at its core, and sporting rivalry is at its core, but there is an awful lot more than that.
Yeah, and look at I think what's so apparent is, people say it's only a game, and it is, and sometimes we do take it too seriously. But when you listen to people talking about winning a county title from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 66 years ago, as was the case in Ballyhonus, and how strong those memories are and how much it means. Like I was delighted to be in Westport last Thursday night, and a man by the name of Pat Cannon, who played cornerback for Burrishoole when they won their intermediate title in 1966. And as it happened, he built our house in Achill, the house where this book was written. And he was one of the people I interviewed. But I got him up to say a few words, and he stole the show. And he ruined me. He ruined Lee Keegan, which is whatever ruining me. Ruining Lee Keegan is a fair old achievement. He said he was the best Mayo player. The best player in not only in Mayo but in the country for the last 10 years, but followed that up by saying, but he didn't win in All-Ireland. And so Pat was in fine form. But I spoke to him afterwards, and he was so delighted to be reliving those memories, and it still means so much to him. And I asked him, I called him there a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to call and give him a book, and he says, "Oh, I have it. I got it the first week it came out. I wanted my children to show to them that I don't just be talking shaffage about my footballing careers, that it did happen." And so it's something that he wears, like, over 50 years on, nearly 60 years on, with such pride, and to have something that you're part of. And like, I would have spoken with him and with Peter Moore and with Willie McGee for the Burrishoole chapter, and they wouldn't have sat down together for years and years and years, but it was just like flicking a switch and they were back together as old friends. And that's very special, that bond that lasts forever. David Brady talked about it from Ballina. He was on about, the unbreakable bond, an eternal glow. You meet someone from Ballina that you won an All-Ireland with, and you don't have to say anything. There's just kind of unspoken appreciation that you achieved something special together. I think that's marvellous, and I think some of the guys and women I would have spoken to in this book convey that so well and so eloquently, far better than I could do, because they lived that experience. And I just think Declan O'Reilly summed it up very well in the Castlebar Mitchell's chapter. He said, there's a lot going on in people's lives. There's lots of days there'll be lots of ups and downs, but you rarely have a day like a day you win a county title. And, I think it was a very good way of describing it. And they are special days, and they're made special not just because of the achievement itself, but because of the shared vision and the shared effort from that group of players. And it's about the destination, and it's about the journey to that point in tandem. And I think that's just that's what makes a lot of it so special.
Edwin, mighty stuff. Superb piece of work, and you can pick it up all around the county. You have it in shops in most towns, don't you? As well as online.
Yeah, it's in shops throughout Mayo. It's in Charlie Burns in Galway. It's in Lieber in Sligo. It's in Hodges Figgis in Dublin. Virtually every bookshop in the county has it, and some filling stations we have it fairly spread far and wide. And it's also available on mayobooks.ie. If you go there to the homepage, you'll see it on the homepage, mayobooks.ie, where it can be shipped anywhere in the world in time for Christmas. Now, if you're listening this week, you will want to get your skates on if you want to get it shipped to Australia or America. So the closing date for that is, I'm going to say Tuesday, December 10th. When is this airing, Rob? Sorry.
This is going out this evening, I'd say. So you'll just, if you're listening to it, you'll probably you're listening going, right, I better get this right now. And you don't go and do something else. Don't switch on WhatsApp and get confused. Get the book ordered immediately. Then go to WhatsApp. You know what you do. Exactly. We all do it. You open your phone for one reason and you end up in WhatsApp. Is that just me?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is.
No, that's exactly me as well. And look, it'll be shipped to the UK up until the 17th of December. So yeah, you have plenty of time in that regard, but can be shipped anywhere in the world. And so really appreciate all the support that people have given me so far. And it's no more than the experience of going around to the clubs. The experience since the book has come out has been humbling.
Brilliant, Edwin. John, I'll see you Friday.
You will indeed. Looking forward to it.
Sold out. I mean, thank you, everyone. I mean, in the modern era, people able to plan things that far in advance and actually guaranteed you're going to go to it is good going. To sell it out is spectacular. Couldn't do it without you guys, and it's going to be a great night. We're looking forward to it. Big thanks to Edwin. Our finest star is the book, and you can pick it up, as you said, at all local bookshops. We are going to hear from Seán Regan chatting with Mike Finnerty about his exploits with both touring and Ballina this year. Perhaps Mayo's finest jewel star.
EBS, the Mortgage Masters, are proud partners of the Mayo Football Podcast. So whether you're at home or abroad, EBS in Castlebar is your one-stop shop for advice and information on mortgages. You can find them online or call into the office on Market Street in Castlebar. Well, when the Club Stars concept first originated about 20 years ago, the whole idea was to recognise outstanding achievements on the club field. It was to honour and celebrate volunteers and people who have given so much to Gaelic games over their lifetimes, and most of all, to bring clubs and communities together to celebrate on one night under one roof and really, I suppose, savour and soak in what they had achieved in the previous 12 months and beyond. And with all of that in mind, then, who better to catch up with on this episode of the Mayo Football Podcast but our Outstanding Achievement Award winner for 2024. How better to introduce him than to tell you he is a two-time Mayo Senior Club Football Championship medal winner and a two-time Mayo Senior Hurling Championship medal winner, and that's just in the last 2 seasons. Seán Regan of Ballina Stephenites and Turin has won successive county titles with both the big ball and the small ball, and we're going to take time out on Friday night to celebrate that wonderful milestone, because Seán Regan, it hasn't been achieved too often. It is, in the modern game, an incredible feat, and I suppose to boil it all down, you're one busy man, and you have been for the last number of years now. How do you do it?
Yeah, look, Mike, thanks for having me on the pod, by the way. Look, it's been an incredible 2 years, I suppose. I'm probably 12 years playing senior football at Ballina Stephenites, and probably never thought the day would come that I'd get to lift the Moncler Cup at some stage. But yeah, I've done 2 in a row there. It's been great. So just been an incredible 2 years, and very grateful for my teammates and management teams as well with Ballina and Touring, just being able to achieve that. Without them, it wouldn't be anything. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, you're a Ballina Stephenites footballer and you're a Turin hurler, and straight away that will have people sitting up and taking notice. Tell us how you ended up being a dual player with those 2 clubs in particular, and I suppose the Turin connection is the one that most people will be curious about.
Yeah, so I played underage hurling with Ballina up until minor level. Started probably under 12s, 14, 16, up to minor level. And once I got to minor level, we didn't have a senior team in Ballina anymore. The club kind of folded for a few years there. So pretty much I had to look for an exclusive hurling club in Mayo. And I think Touring was the only exclusive hurling club in Mayo at the time. So Touring came calling, and I haven't really looked back since. So look, I would have played underage hurling, county hurling with the likes of the Bolins, David Kenny and the likes, so would have had a great friendship with them growing up as a young lad playing underage development plans and stuff at Mayo, and it was a no-brainer to join Touring in the end, and I haven't really looked back since, and had a lot of success thankfully with them over the last number of years. So yeah, that's how it happened really, and just it's been great last few years with them. So
to win the double in 23 and 24, just put that into perspective for us. I mean, how hectic was it? How difficult is it to juggle the 2 games at such a high level?
Yeah, I suppose every million years I think I'd do the double twice over. Like, it's a really good achievement, but yeah, it's really tough. It's tough to kind of balance both sports. obviously, especially when you're playing with two different clubs as well. If you're playing with the same club, I know like Lockmore, Castellini, and Tipperary won the double this year, hurling and football, and I'd say it's much easier to win it when you're one club. But playing with two clubs is very difficult. But at the same time, I'm very grateful for the two management teams that I have. They're very accommodating. Me playing both codes, like Niall and Cora, are brilliant. When I play football, and they allow me to play hurling with Torian, and same with Ray Larkin, Brian Delaney, and Don Greeley. Just they're very accommodating, but I suppose it can be tough on the body at times. It's just a matter of juggling what nights you're training and stuff, and try not to probably overtraining is probably the main thing that gets in the way. But I've got my fair share of injuries over the last years between my hamstring and my broken ribs and stuff like that this year. So it's just about it's a fine balancing act. Like it's harder and harder to probably balance both codes every year because each code is they want more and more from me each year. Like the commitment level is probably off the charts, especially at club level. The last few years, but it's just making a conscious decision. If I have a big game at the weekend of the football, it'll be football week of training, and if I have a big hurling game at the weekend, it'll be a hurling week. So it's just kind of liaising with the management teams. What's the best option to do that week of training and stuff. So yeah, it gets harder and harder every year, but it's something I love doing. Like it's something I absolutely love going out training with the lads every day of the week. So
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. What's the best thing about playing with Ballina Stephenites and Turin on a consistent level at such a high level, week on week for the best part of a season?
Yeah, like to be honest, I'm probably one of the luckiest players in Mayo at the minute. Like we're Ballina Stephenites, we're the top at the minute. We're doing really well, and same with Turin, like two really good high achieving teams.
With that in mind, then, what is the best thing about playing with the Stephenites and Turin, given that the demands are so high and you're playing at such a high level? What gives you the greatest kick out of playing both sports?
I think it's just having a relationship with both sets of players. Like playing with Ballina and Turin it's two very contrasting things. You're playing with like Tory is obviously a little small village in East Mayo, and Ballina is a very big town in Ballina. So it's very different concepts, I suppose, playing with two lads. But the one thing in common, I'd say, with the two of them is there's such an incredible bond between each of the players, and that's probably one of the main things that I love playing with Ballina and Tory. Just the bond I have with each and every one of the players. Like, I'm probably one of the luckiest players in Mayo to play with two incredible teams, two really high achieving teams at the minute, at the top of their game. And I'd say just the relationships I have with each sets of players. I think that's the real special thing that's the real kick I get out of playing both codes. Like
in terms of how one complements the other or supplements the other, is there an advantage to playing hurling with Turin and then switching across to playing football with the Stephenites and vice versa? I mean, is there anything that you're doing with one that helps with the other?
Yeah, I suppose like hurling is a very skillful sport, and I suppose your hand-eye coordination has to be really good. And what I find is if I miss one or two hurling training sessions, my touch has definitely gone off. And it's kind of in the back of your head that you miss training during the week, your touch might be a little bit off. But I think obviously your hand-eye coordination is a massive thing between hurling and football. It's a really good advantage playing hurling. Just in that sense, it complements the football as well. But football is a very physical sport as well, so I guess that side of it as well. But hurling, I'd say the last number of years has become a lot more physical as well, between rucks and kind of winning your own possession and puck outs and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the two sports really do complement each other. But yeah, I'd say mainly just hand-eye coordination, things like that. And like hurling training can be it's lots of a really big skills approach, I suppose, to it compared to football. Like you could be touching the schlitter in a hurling training session like 200 times, where in the football you're probably not touching it as much. But if you're training with hurling during the week, your football eye will probably always be in. Like, so if you had to ask me my preference, probably hurling training would be my preference over football. Just the whole skills element to it, and just the amount you're getting a lot more touches of the ball, whereas football you're probably not touching the ball as much. But I really do enjoy playing both codes, I suppose. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your hurling background, because you obviously have strong family connections, and I'm guessing that's where the love of hurling came from and why you've continued to play it on now into your mid-20s and beyond.
Yeah, look, hurling the sport I always loved. I've always admired. I suppose my uncle Niall Patterson would have hurled with Lockheed. Shamrocks won All Ireland club three captain, but to an All Ireland club title as well back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and he would have played with Antrim as well. in the '89 final, they lost to Tipperary, I think, in that. So yeah, huge hurling connections up north. My mum and dad. Her mum was from Lochiel and my dad is from Cushendall. So that's where I got hurling from, I suppose. And my uncle, my grandfather Neil Patterson, would have been chairman of Antrim GAA for many years as well. So that's where I got the love of the game from, I suppose. And would have moved down to Mayo then before I was even born. Mum and dad moved down here, had her own shop in Ballina here as well. So obviously wanted to keep that going. And yeah, just early memories of playing hurling, I suppose, are probably out in the back garden with my dad, kind of reenacting nearly the Munster finals from back in the early noughties, pretending you're nearly Joe Dean or John Milan, one of these players. That's my fondest memories of kind of playing hurling. Hurling's probably been my first sport I played growing up, but I suppose, yeah, it's something that's really close to my heart, and it's great to have kind of hurling connections there as well, you know. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Just to stay on the hurling theme for a few minutes, I mean, I've always found Turin to be an incredible club. Anytime I've ever gone over there, anytime I've ever followed them on their run through a championship, they are an amazing group of people that do so much to keep the game alive, and it really does seem to bring the whole community with them when they're on a run. What were your first impressions when you joined up with the club, and how much have they welcomed you with open arms and made you feel like one of your own during your time in Turin?
Yeah, look, Turin is a really, really special club, but the same with Ballina, great history behind each club as well. But Turin welcomed me with open arms back in, I think it was 2014 when I first joined. And to be honest, like, it feels like I've been playing with Turin all my life. There's just a great community spirit and such a passion for hurling in such a small little village, like, and especially around Mayo, you have small little pockets of hurling, Ballyhaunis, Turin, Castlebar, things like that. Like, it's really special, but I'd say just the whole community aspect, like they welcome you with open arms there, and there's just something really special about putting on the touring jersey. Like you're representing the history of the club and things like that. And like it's great when you're part of a successful panel like that. You're doing well, and things are a lot better when you're winning games. Like it's easy when you're winning games and stuff like that. So,
how would you describe yourself as a hurler, Seán? If somebody was to ask you,
it's a tough one now. I'd say just kind of a bit of a workhorse. Yeah, like kind of winning puck outs, a bit of a workhorse around the middle, just getting involved, trying to get involved to play, get as many touches of the ball. I'd say growing up at Ballina, kind of would have been one of the main scorers in the team, say with underage and stuff like that. And then you go into a touring team, you're probably not as big as a player. I won't be a big scorer, I'd say, with touring maybe, but kind of a bit of a target man, I'd say, more than anything, just a bit of a workhorse around the middle. Yeah, that's probably it, I'd say.
and most people listening to this podcast and tuned in at the moment would know you as a footballer. I suppose first and foremost, you represented Mayo at underage, and you would have been in and out of senior squads from time to time. And obviously, you've had a lot of success with the Stephenites as well, particularly in the last 2 or 3 seasons. What's that been like for you, your football journey? Because as you said, you've been balancing the two codes, the two sports, for as long as you can remember. But tell me a little bit about how much you've enjoyed the senior football, and in particular these last few years when it's all started to fall into place for you.
Yeah, I suppose I suppose I started with senior football, came straight from minor into the Stephen team around 2012, and I suppose the club probably wasn't in the best place at the time, and like we've always been told to leave the jersey in a better position than the person before you, and I think we're starting to do that now at the minute. But I would have joined the senior team back in 2012. We played relegation finals against Kiltane, against Westport, and it's kind of nearly done a full circle. Like, to be honest, I never thought if I won one Mockler Cup even, I'd be happy enough with that. Like I've always said that over the years, but the fact we've done 2 in a row now has been brilliant, and it's just great to be part of such a successful team now, and hopefully we can push on again. Like to be honest, at the minute it probably feels like we didn't really win the county title this year, just the way we lost Kildare Strand Hill. But I'm sure we'll get to celebrate that the county final again next year at the dinner dance, stuff like that. But look, it's been an incredible year, and the best thing about it is that we can go try again now and try get 3 in a row. But we're under no illusion next year. Like there's a even bigger target on our back. You have the likes of Castlebar, Brafey, Balladreen, Westport will be gunning for us, and most teams are going to be looking for new management teams as well, and they might get a new kick out of that as well. So just really look forward to next year, and I know we started our S&C already, so we need to do even more to try achieve what we want to achieve again next year. So just really looking forward to next year again.
When you think about 2012 and when you broke into the Stephenites senior team and you started playing senior championship, is there any comparison between then and now, just in every way, in terms of strength and conditioning, the time, the effort, the dedication, the commitment, and the intensity that everything is being done at, particularly when you work the split season into that as well?
Yeah, I suppose S&C is a massive thing. It probably wasn't as prevalent back in 2012, back in the day. So I'd say S&C is definitely one thing, but even just the commitment level alone, I know it's gone off the charts the last few years. And if you want to be winning county titles, things like that, Connacht titles, and pushing further on like that, you need that huge commitment. You need that huge buy-in from players. But I think, like with Ballina, we're very privileged to have such great leadership and leaders on the team. Like young and old, say young lads like Sam Canlan there, Frank Irwin, driving on the team, like they're only like 21, 22 years of age, and they're really driving it home. And then you have the likes of Calf, David Clark, Evan Regan, Paul Cahora, really driving the standards in training too. So I'd say like the standards in our own training has improved so much the last number of years in comparison to back in 2012. Just standards of training, things like that, and just the commitment levels are kind of gone off the charts the last few years. But it's just such a great place to be in, and you really do enjoy going to training when the standards are so high like that, and you're just trying to better yourself every training session. So we're just very privileged in Malnet to have such a great setup like that.
I know you referenced it a little bit earlier on. You missed the Connacht Club Championship campaign yourself with injury, and the Colera Strandhill defeat obviously brought the Stephenites season to an end. But when you do look ahead to 2025, just from your own personal point of view, is it realistic to think you can continue to play for Turin and the Stephenites again next year? Is that the intention at the moment, or do you think at some stage in the not too distant future it might get just impossible to do given the commitment required?
Yeah, I'd say the latter there. To be honest, I'm 30 years of age now and probably got a lot of injuries over the years. But look, I'm going to try play both codes as long as I can. It's something I really enjoy doing. And the day I stop enjoying it, I'll stop playing whichever sport it is. I don't know, but yeah, look, the commitment levels every year get harder and harder. And to be honest, I kind of question myself, how do I do it at times? Probably didn't listen to my body enough this year as well. I know, play 2 games extra time, the football against Balladreen, and then the hurling the following weekend against Ballyhonus. And I went out training literally the following morning with the Stephenites after playing the extra time, and that's when I done my hamstring. So I need to listen to my body more, I suppose, have a bit more sense in that kind of area. But yeah, look, I'm going to try play both codes as long as I can. But at the same time, I'm probably not getting the best out of myself playing both. Like, I know myself, I'd be a far better footballer if I concentrated on football alone, and I'd be a far better hurler if I concentrated on hurling alone. So yeah, look, it's just a fine balance, but look, I'm going to try to do as best I can next year again and try win both, I suppose. But yeah, I'm the far side of 30 now. I'm 30 years of age or last July, so I need to kind of listen to my body a bit more. I'm starting to feel it, I suppose.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm still thinking there's people from Turin listening, hoping you'll continue to play hurling, and there's no doubt the Stephenites got to see just how important you are to them as well this season. So I think their hope will be probably you continue to juggle. I'm just curious as well, what gives you the greatest kick? Is it training and training hard and training with that group that you get on so well with? Is it testing yourself against the best opponents out there at senior hurling and senior football level? Or is it ultimately about winning county titles? Is that where the real joy and satisfaction comes from?
Yeah, look, I suppose winning is great. There's no better feeling than winning or listening to the final, hearing the final whistle after winning the county title or anything. Like, winning is absolutely brilliant and it's one of the best things in the world. But the thing for me, it's probably the journey at the end of the day. It's the car journey to Atlow and Mullingar for training during the week. It's the crack you have in the dressing room. It's overcoming adversity on and off the pitch and just building kind of relationships with the lad. Like, so with the lads. But I think it's the journey for me that I really get a kick out of, and the relationships you build up with your teammates and how close you can get to your teammates, getting to know your teammates on the pitch and off the pitch. But to me, winning is absolutely one of the best things in the world, but it's all about the journey for me, to be honest.
Well, Seán, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I mean, we all know that so many Ballyhaunis footballers and hurlers and Ahamore footballers and touring hurlers have done this, juggling the two codes for years and years and years. Some with success, some not so successful, and then you come along and you basically tear it up by winning the two football and the two hurling championship medals back to back. It is a wonderful achievement. We have deemed it to be the outstanding achievement of 2024 when it comes to the Club Star Awards this year, and we're really looking forward to recognising and celebrating your achievements next Friday night at Knockranny House Hotel. Do you have any trouble switching off in the off season? Are you in full rest and recovery mode at the moment? Will you be able to relax on Friday night and maybe just kick back for a while?
Definitely. It's a bit strange. Usually with touring, we'd be training away up until Christmas, but we unfortunately lost kind of final there a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I'll definitely be allowed to unwind next Friday night. So yeah, really looking forward to it now. So
Seán, great talking to you again, and well done on all your achievements in 2024.
cheers. Thanks very much, Mike. Thanks for having me on.